Hi guys. So today we're doing multiplication of fractions and we're going to do the step-by-step process of multiplying the fractions. So we want to start off with our background knowledge. What do we know? We know how to estimate our whole numbers. If I asked you what 32 times 88 is, what would you guess? We round those up and do 30 times 90. You know 3 times 9 is 27 and add the two zeros, we've got 2,700. And we do know how to multiply all of our whole numbers. 356 times 21. We can divide whole numbers. I can show you an example, but I think you know. But if we were going to divide whole numbers, it would be as simple as 210 divided by 70. We would say 3 minus 21, 0, 0, and we know it's 30. So we all know how to do this. Easy peasy, right? Okay. As we know, we are all explorers. So our roadmap today is starting at multiplying fractions by fractions. Then we'll multiply fractions with common factors. And then the big part is multiplying a fraction and mixed numbers. We know that's just what? What's a mixed number? Yes. Hi. Today's learning target. I can draw a model to explain fraction multiplication. I have no doubt we'll all be doing this in 5 minutes. Our success criteria, how we're going to measure those, is multiplying the fractions and finding products involving mixed numbers. Then we'll interpret products involving fractions and mixed numbers to solve real life problems, because that's all math is, real life. If we can't do real life, why are we doing this? So speaking of real life, get up with your table buddy, and here's my question. You find a bottle of water in the car on the way home, because if you're anything like my kids, your car is full of sports bottles. So you've got a bottle, you find it half full. You drink 2/3 of that bottle, the half full bottle. How much of the bottle of water did you drink? Remember, we break everything, rewriting our question in our heads and on our papers. So in our head, I want you to switch that to words, to the language. So what are you trying to figure out? You're trying to figure out what is 2/3 of 1/2. So on your paper, I want you to write 2/3 times 1/2 equals question mark. Okay, words, numbers, got them? One way to do this is by drawing it out. So we would draw our segment, and then we would take 1/2 of it. And we know that's 1/2, right? So we know that's what we already have, 1/2. Sorry. So, and that would be 1/2. But I want you to divide that into thirds. So you want to find 2/3 of the length by dividing that line into 3 equal sections. Get rid of that half, but we know where the half is, right? And take a look over here and at the right above my head, you will see that I got 2 semicircles and I put colored in a half, and then I did 1/3 of the pizza. If you put that pizza over that semicircle, what would you have? Are you following? So if you have the half circle here, and that's our half circle, fine. But then you take the third for the pizza, and it's obvious that a third is less than a half, but we're trying to find out what? What's our question? Go back to your rewrite in your paper. What is 2/3 of 1/2? So now you need to think of a way to divide 1/2 into 3 equal parts. So we're going to rewrite the problem 1/2 as a fraction whose numerator is divisible by 3, right? Because we're doing 3 parts. So because I already divided the length into 3 equal sections, we're going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by what? By 3. Where did I come up with We divided it into 3 equal sections. So we're going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 3. So if I have 1/2 and I take the numerator 1 times 3, I get 3. If I take the denominator 2, multiply it by 3, I get 6. So 1/2 is equal to 3/6. In this form, you can see that 3/6 can be divided. Okay, so we're going to get ready for our learning outcomes because I'm going to start teaching this lesson. We know what we know. Now we're going to move forward. So I want you to draw a model to explain fraction multiplication. Seriously. So if I said I wanted you to draw a piece of pizza and you're going to split the pizza in 3s, could you divide the pizza by 3? I think you can. This is very manageable today. By the end, we're going to be multiplying fractions by another fractions, finding products involved in mixed numbers, and multiplying fractions and mixed numbers. So go back to your math journal. Go ahead and highlight today's standards. Okay, so the answers are not on the board. They're in your head. So I want you to talk about Mr. Begon's next door. He came into the teacher's lounge. He found a quarter of my bagel. He ate a half of it. How much of my bagel did he eat? What's the fraction of what Mr. Begon's ate? So your sample problem would be finding 3/4 by a half, but he didn't eat 3/4. He ate 1/4. So let's kind of take a look at this and see where we're at, okay? So what's our goal? To be able to draw fractions. So if I have over here 1/2 of a bagel, and we know Mr. Begon's picked it up and he ate 1/2 of my 1/2, which would be a quarter. Would it be a quarter? Well, let's take a look. If I make a circle and I've got that bagel and I cut that bad boy in half, and then I cut it in half again, I know I have 1/4 of a bagel. One of the 4 parts, 1/4 of the bagel. So if I take half of the half, then I have 1/4. Take your pencil and your paper out, go back to our notebook, because now what I want on your paper is to do the multiplication of it. So you're going to write on the paper, pencils ready, 1/2 times 1/2. What's 1 times 1? It's 1. What's 2 times 2? It's 4. What do we have as the answer? 1/4. So by both doing the multiplication and by drawing it, you got 1/4. Does that seem right to you? Follow the formula. So if I said he ate 1/4 of the half, he didn't eat half of the half, but he ate 1/4 of it. How much would Mr. Begans have eaten? So I have my bagel and I have half. And he didn't eat half this time, so we're going to make a half. He ate 1/4 of it, which we know then would be how many parts? 8 parts. So he ate 1/8 of it, but here he ate 1/4 of the half. How could we figure out how much of the bagel he ate? Well, we'd multiply the numerators. 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, let's do a few more. Okay, so back to our reading of math, right? So what fraction is 1/2 of 3/4? We may divide each fourth in half, or should we divide the 3/4 in half? There's 2 different ways to do it. And we know that 1/2 of 1/4 is 1/8 already, right? So let's make our circle. I mean, if you want it to be a bagel, it can be a bagel. But so we're going back to our circle, right, where we did that 1/8, remember? And we are going to divide it into fourths. And we said that each section is a fourth. So using this, how many fourths do I have here? 1, 2, 3. We have 3 parts of 4. So we have the 3/4. But what was my question to you? My question to you is to find 1/2 of 3/4. So how could we find 1/2 of 3/4? Well, we're drawing it right now. So we can either divide each fourth in half, or we can divide the 3/4 in half. Let's divide our 3/4 in half. Okay, I'll get a new one. So I divide my 3/4 in half, divide my 3/4 in half, divide my 3/4 in half. But now my 1/4, what does that become? So if each section of 1/4, we had 3, turned into 2 1/8, then how many 1/8 should we have? How many eighths would we have? We'd have half of the 3/4, right? So then we'd have another 1/8, and we'd have another 1/8. So just looking at your number, you'd go, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Does that make sense? Well, let's see. We have 3/4 and times 1/2. So if we do the 3/4 times 1/2, let's do the math. What do we have here? We have 3 times 1 equals 4 times 2 equals what? Is that right? 1/2 of 3/4 is 3/8. So, but we said here, how many did we have? 6/8. But I'm only asking you, 6/8 is equal to 3/4. But I'm asking you for what's half of that. So what would half of 6/8 be? It would be 3/8. So once you've divided it, then you're going to color it up. Then we'll see if that's half. So let's color in our first eighth, our second eighth, our third eighth. Does that look like half of the 3/4 that we had? I think it does. So we multiplied the numerators to find the numerator of the product, and we multiplied the denominator to find the denominator of the product. What are your thoughts? Any questions? What questions at this point? Okay, so we know that 1/2 of 3/4 is 3/8 of the whole circle. So that's just like a random circle, pizza, bagel, whatever. Let's talk about money. Money. Who likes money? No one likes money, but it's a necessary evil. So let's talk. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, okay? Question number 1. A nickel is what fraction of a dime? 5 cents is what fraction of a dime? Not what size, the value. Yes, it's 1/2. Okay, you got me. So next question. What fraction is a dime of a dollar? Well, how many cents is a dollar? 100 cents? And how many cents is a dime? 10. So we have 10 out of 100. How many dimes go into the 100? 10 go into the 100. So 1 dime would be 1/10. Right? 1/10. Mrs. Ryan did the math wrong. Sorry. Oopsie daisy. How did we do that earlier? So, secondly, so now here's my third question. So if you know that a nickel is half of a dime, and you know that a dime is 1/10 of a dollar, here's the big question. What fraction is a nickel of a dollar? What fraction is that? 5 cents of that 100? So would it be? So you already told me that 10 cents is 1/10 of a dollar. And you already told me that 5 cents is half of 10. So what would 1/2 of 1/10 be? But when we divide things, do they get smaller? Do fractions get smaller or bigger? Okay, so we know that that would be 5 out of the 100s would become 1/20th. How could we check our work? Reducing our fraction. So if our 5 is our 1, and we put, how many times does 5 go into 100? What if you didn't know it off your head? What if it wasn't 5? What if it wasn't something we just knew? How would we get there? How would you do the work? Well, you know how to divide whole numbers. You would say 5 goes into 10 2 times, and you get 1/20 either way. So you've told me from your common sense, from your all your experience with money and all your experience with that, the answer is 1/20. But what if I wanted you to show me it using the fractions, using the fraction math, using multiplication? Can we check our work doing that? I think we can. So what would we do? Well, brain trust. What's our question? What's the language? We're asking what is 1/2 of 1/10, right? Because we know that a dime is 1/10 of a dollar, and we know that a nickel is 1/2 of a dime. So what would 1/2 of 1/10 be? Oh, keep our numerators. Let's look at our denominators. What's 2 times 10? 1/20th. Is that what we got here? Yep. Is that what we got in our picture? Yep. I think you're meeting all your learning criteria. Brain pop. So let's do a check. Okay. See where we're at. So stop where you're at. Go ahead, turn that new sheet of the paper. We're just going to check in. This is when you can flip over your cards, red, yellow, green. Let me see where we're at. The answers are not on the board, but you can work it. So I want you to multiply 2/3 by 4/5. Can you multiply? What are we doing? We're multiplying 2/3 by 4/5. So make sure you start off. I want 2 fractions on your page. Start with the 2/3, multiply 4/5. Thumbs up. Are we ready to begin the work? Is everybody ready? Okay. So now I'm telling you with my words, I want you to find 2/3 of 4/5 by doing what? Doing what? Multiplying. Okay. So I'm going to give you a moment to do your work. When you're ready, go ahead and give me the thumbs up. If you need help, I'll circulate. I'm looking for red cards, yellow cards, and green cards. Show me what you got. Good choices. So let's do our math. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So 2 times 4, peeps. What's your 2 times 4? Yep. And what do we multiply next? Denominators. What are our denominators? 3 times 5. What's 3 times 5? 15. See? Okay, so now we're just going to check. Let me stop and take a look. Okay, area models. Not really much different than the pictures we were drawing, but a little bit different. So we're going to multiply fractions now using an area model. What's the area? So I want to find what's 3/4 of 1/2. Sound familiar? So get out your rectangle, divide it by 4, then shade in 3/4. Now looking right there, divide the rectangle by 2. Then shade in a half of that too. Okay, remember we had 6 pink, or we had 3 pink. Then we divided it again, so that became 6 pink. And now we've got this funky new one with the blue. So we divided it by 2, and we shaded in half of the rectangle. So you can see, looking at my original here, I don't know, can you see my cursor? Of the overlapping. So we wanted this, we're trying to find 3/4 of 1/2. First thing we did was step 1, and we colored in 3 of this rectangle when it was 4. Then we made it into 8, and we colored in 4 of the 8 of the rectangle. So our number of overlapping sections that were both pink and blue, maybe I should have made that purple, not yellow. Those would have been how many? 3/8. Is that what we got before? Stop, collaborate, and listen. Let's talk a little bit about where we were at. So did we talk about choosing a formula? Did you decide to do a half of 3/4? Did you just decide to do 3/4 of 1/2? Did you decide to make it into eighths? So no matter what we're doing, what we're going to get there is what fraction of the entire rectangle is shaded. Choose a formula. There's not a wrong one. There's not a right one. You're not looking at your table partner and saying, we have to do this. You're going your way. At the end, our answers should match up, but that doesn't mean that the journey has to be the same to get to the same destination. So how many parts do you have? You had 8. How many of them were shaded? You had 3. So for the last one, we have, what is our answer? Is there any tables that don't have 3/8? Did you do it the same as someone? But you're still right? Awesome. So mathematicians, let's recap before we get into the written practice at our table talk and our math language. Just want to remind you of our academic vocabulary that we're going to use today. Extra points, I'll be writing down your number when I hear those words. But beyond that, for the written practice, recap, what did we do today? What did I do? I drew a semicircle. What's a semicircle? Half of a circle. Then I colored in half of the half, right? Is that what you have on your paper? Take a look back at your paper. Math journals, back. Okay, so you have a circle. You divided it in half. You divided it in half again, so now you have a fourth. You colored in a fourth. So what was my first question? It was, what is a half of a half? What is the answer? So you've showed me that answer by drawing pictures. You've showed me that answer by doing multiplication. We've only been in whole numbers, but I want you to put it into use right now. So I'm going back to the horseshoe table. Early finishers, you have extra credit and Play-Doh on the board if you are feeling brave and courageous. And if you're not, you can contribute. Just remember, academic language words are what I want to hear. So I will, though I'll be at the horseshoe table, I will be writing down the numbers for our buzzwords of the week. So get buzzing bees. Well, we're moving quite along. So we did multiplying fractions. They were all whole numbers. Now we're going to do mixed numbers. Oh my God. That's exactly what fractions are, so it doesn't really matter. So it doesn't matter if it's 1/2 or it's 6/2 because, it's just halves. And we already know how to make an improper fraction. So the math's just not even changing. So if I want you to make 2 1/4 into 1/2, what So if I say there was 2 1/4 gelatin left, what would a half of that be? That's just like the question we just did, right? Except now it's 2 1/4. You need to make the 2 1/4 into an improper fraction. How do we do our improper fractions? I know we know this. We've covered it. Really, if you think about it, today's lesson is nothing new. It's just kind of putting those puzzle pieces together. So if I have 2 1/4 and I want to be able to multiply it, I have to somehow get this number into a fraction. So how am I going to make my 2 1/4 a fraction? So I can say that 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1 is 9/4. And I know that's right because these numbers are easy, right? But just bear with me in case they weren't small numbers. Just in case maybe we were forgetting what we were doing. What does that 2 mean? That means you have 2 whole fractions. So 2 is 1 plus 1. Sure. But what's 1? Well, it means you have 4 of the 4 segments. 4 of the 4 segments. Then we have 1/4. So 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9/4. So you checked your math. You still came out good, right? So we know, without a doubt, we're doing improper fractions right. I've done it both ways. I did my multiplication and added it, and I did it piece by piece like you would with your manipulatives. Don't forget you have your sacks and cubes. So now that I know that 2 1/4 is 9/4, and I said I only want half of that, how would we go about getting that half? Is it that hard? What are we doing? Multiplying the numerators, then the denominators. What's 9 times 1? 9. What's 4 times 2? 8. Got it? Get it? But wait, 9/8. Ooh, is that illegal? That's illegal. That's illegal. You can't hand that in to me. You need to simplify that final answer. So, what does 9/8 mean? You have 9 parts out of something that's only 8 parts, right? So, going from that logic, you have, how much would be 1? 8/8 would be 1, right? 8/8 would be 1. And then if you added 1/8, you'd have your 9/8. But, so what would our answer be? 9/8 equals 1 1/8, correct? Is it just me? Feels like we did a lot, and it feels like we did nothing at the same time, but somehow it's all coming together. So A-team, I love it when a plan comes together. So the fractions by fractions, let's just review this really quickly, see where we're at, see what our plans are, see where we're coming. So thinking caps. Okay. So what, haven't asked this question yet, but you probably know it. I will call on quiet hands. Penny is a fraction of a dime. How much of a penny is a fraction of a dime? 1/10. How much a dime is a fraction of a dollar? I already told you that one earlier. 10 out of 100 is 1/10. We reduced it. So we've got 1/10 of 1/10. What is 1/10 of 1/10? You guys told me earlier. It's 1/20th. Get it? Got it? Thumbs up? Okay. So we already know that. We've already done it. We're just sticking with things we've already done. So, and then we're going to do our multiplication. So how do you multiply? You multiply the numerators, then the denominators. Then we simplify the fractions. Does it get any different when we make the mixed number? Little. There's one more step. We write the mixed number into the improper fractions, then follow the same steps when multiplying them by fractions or fractions. So you're just adding in that one extra step.